In this screencast, we're looking at decisions in microbit. And when we're talking about decisions, we're looking at a condition and we're testing to see if it is true or false. If the condition is true, then we will do something. So when we're talking about decisions, we're talking about just a basic if statement and a condition. And then, depending on the value of the condition, we will do something or not. So a very basic example is here, we're looking at if a number is less than 5, then we're going to show a number is less than 5, and otherwise we're not going to do anything. So we look at 3 examples here. If the number is set to 3, then it will show number is less than 5. So we'll go back up to our condition here, and we'll check to see is 3 less than 5. That evaluates to true. So then the condition is true, and then we will show the number less than 5. If we set the number to 5, again, we check our condition. Is 5 less than 5? Well, that's false. So the condition is not true, so nothing happens. So it won't show anything. And then finally, the next example we have is where we set the number to 10. And again, is 10 less than 5? Well, that's false. So again, nothing is shown. So that is your most basic decision that you can have in microbits. Now, I keep talking about decisions in microbits, but actually it's the same in every programming language that you have. You have a basic if statement and you'll have a condition, and then you do something or not based on whether the condition is true or false. The only thing that differs between the various different programming languages is the actual syntax of how you do that. So if we move on to a slightly more complicated decision. So in this case, we've got if the condition, and that's really if the condition is true, then we will do something. Otherwise, we will do something else. So let's go back and look at our example where we had if number less than 5. So here we're saying if the number is less than 5, then we're going to show number is less than 5. Otherwise, or else, we will show the number is 5 or greater. So again, let's look at our examples here. If the number is 3, well, let's go back to our decision. Is 3 less than 5? Yes, it is. That is true. So then it will go in and show number is less than 5. So in this case, it doesn't even check the else because there is no point, because we found that the condition is true. If we have our number set to 5, it's going to show us number is 5 or greater. And the reason for that is, let's go back again. So 5 less than 5, well, that's false. So the condition isn't true. So we go into our else. And the else says number is 5 or greater. And then the final example we have is where the number is 10. So again, let's go back to our condition. Is 10 less than 5? Well, that evaluates to false. And because it evaluates to false, we're into our else part of this statement. And that will again show that the number is 5 or greater. So we're going to go to makecode.com now, and we're going to code both of these decisions, just so I can show you how you can step through creating these decisions in code within the microbit. So we have a new project in makecode.com, and here I'm just going to get rid of the forever, because remember, in every new project we get an on start and a forever block. I don't need the forever block at this point in time, so I'm just going to use the on start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variable. So I'm going to go into variables and I'm going to make a variable. I'm going to call the variable number, and I'm going to click OK. Once I have done that, I'm then going to pull across the set item. And instead of item, I'm going to change that to number, and I'm going to set the number to 3. So that's my very first part. And then I go into logic here. When I go into logic, I'm just going to take the basic if statement. So it's saying if true, then. Now I'm going to have to make some changes here, because remember, instead of true, I need to check here to see is number less than 5, and that will either evaluate to true or false. In this particular case, it will evaluate to true, but it may not always do so. So I'm going to go into logic again, and I'm going to just bring across the less than here. Now, just one thing I want to show you here. If you go to logic here, there is an equals if something equals something, and there's another one if something less than something. If I bring across the equals one, sorry, I already have the less than. I'll show you that in a second. If we bring across the equals one, if I click on the little arrow here, it shows me I can change it to equals, not equals, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. But if I go up to the less than one, I can also change it to each and every one of those. So both of them are the same. They just give you the two different ones. Just, I suppose sometimes if people don't see the equals one, they might think that it's not possible to do that. So I'm just going to get rid of that for now. So once I have my less than condition here, and this is my condition part, so remember it's if, condition, then. So I'm going to go back to my variables here, and I'm going to pull across my number. I'm going to click it in. So now it's saying if number less than 0. Well, I don't want to check if number less than 0. I want to check if number is less than 5. So in this case, that is going to evaluate to true. And what am I going to do when it's true? Well, I'm going to show the string. Now, what we had said we would do was we would show the string number less than 5. But if we did that on the microbit, and you can see on the left hand side it's showing hello because this is actually live at the moment. So what I want to do is I want to change the string here from hello. But if I said number less than 5 in text, it would make it very long and you'd kind of lose the message. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the less than symbol and the 5. So here I'm showing the string less than 5. And you can see here on the left hand side, it is actually doing that. It's showing the string less than 5. So I'll just do one other test. I'll just restart the simulator again. And you'll see it's showing less than 5. And the reason for that is because number is 3. 3 is less than 5. The condition evaluates to true. And now we're showing string less than 5. I'm going to just change the number here to 5. So in this case, do we expect that it's going to show anything? Well, let's have a look at our condition. Is 5 less than 5? Well, that's going to evaluate to false. And if this condition evaluates to false, it doesn't show this string. So we would suspect that it's not going to show anything. I just want to click out of that. And I'm going to just restart the simulator. Nothing is showing here now, but I'm just going to restart the simulator to make sure it's working as it should do. So I click it and nothing is showing. So the condition is evaluating to false and nothing is showing. I'll put in 10, so I'm setting the number to 10 now. Again, 10 is not less than 5, so that's going to evaluate to false, and it won't show the string again. Click out of it, restart the simulator, and nothing is showing. So that's our first one, which is just having an if statement. Now remember, our second situation was we had an if, condition, then, else, something, do something else. So how we're going to do that, there's a couple of ways you can do it. If you look at the logic here, you can look at if true, then else, or you have this if true, which is the one we use. Now I could just bring this across and create it all over again, but actually now that I have one already pretty much done, I can just click on this little gear here, this settings here, and if I click on it, it gives me a few options. And here I can, you see the way you can drag across an else if, or you can drag across an else. And if I drag across an else, see the way it's clicking in here? If I click it in, then you see you get an else statement here. I can then close the gear bit here and I have my else option. So here I've got if the number is less than 5, show string less than 5. Otherwise, and I can go back to basic, show my string. And this time I'm going to show the string greater than 5. And already you can see that something is happening on the left hand side. Now in that case, it was showing hello and then it's showing greater than 5. So here I'm saying, if the number is less than 5, show string less than 5. Otherwise, show string greater than 5. Now, actually, I should say here greater than or equal to 5, just for the situation when it is actually equal to 5. So if I restart my simulator again, in this case, the number is 10. 10 is not less than 5, so that's going to evaluate to false. So we're going to come into our else situation here, and it should show us our string greater than or equal to 5. So if I restart, it's showing greater than or equal to 5. Now I'm going to change my value to 3, and this time it should show less than 5. So again, if I restart, it's showing the less than 5. Just restart it again, it's showing less than 5. And the final example is I want to set the number equal to 5. And in that case, it shows greater than or equal to 5. So that is our basic decisions in microbit. So we have our if statement, if condition then. So if the condition is true, it will do something, otherwise it will do nothing. Or we have an if condition then else, something else. So just a few other things now I want to show you while we're in here. If we just click on the little gear icon here, and you can see more coming up. If I click on it, you get a few different options here. And I just want to show you, if you create a project and you decide you don't want it, you can actually delete the project. Now, I'm not going to do it in this particular case, but you can actually delete a project. So that's how you delete a project. It's just something that it took me a little bit of time to find, so I'm just sharing it with you as well. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're just going to save this now, and I'm going to just remind you of how we transfer it back onto the microbit again. So I'm going to change the name untitled, and I'm going to call it decision. I'm going to click save. And remember, when we do that, it creates a microbit-decision.hex. That's going to be in our downloads folder, and then we can copy it across to the microbit. So in File Manager, in my downloads folder, I can see microbit-decision.hex, and I've also plugged in my microbit, so I can just pick up microbit-decision.hex and literally drag it and drop it onto the microbit. And now you can see that it's copying, and when it is completed, we will then be able to disconnect the microbit, and that program will be on the microbit. And just a reminder again that when we copy something onto the microbit, it overwrites what's already there. So you can only ever have one program on the microbit at any given point in time. So that is really just the end of our screencast now on decisions in microbit. I hope you found it useful.